I'm going to read the statement on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. I'm with the DSG. I won't read the whole statement because we'll give it to you. The African National Congress National Executive Committee was held, as you know, on the 19th of January, and 2021 we had an NEC Lekgotla. And the January Lekgotla is one of the two Makhotlas. During the year we call Lekgotla in January and we call Lekgotla in around June, July. And we assess the implementation of commitments made in the previous year. And we therefore provide guidance to government planning and preparation of the state of the nation, so that as the ANC, we guide what government should do, because we agree that the center is the African National Congress. So this Lekgotla was preceded, as I said, by a normal NEC meeting held over 2 days on the 18th and the 19th of January. And the outcome of this NEC meeting have already been communicated to you in a statement released on Saturday. The Lekgotla was attended by NEC members, the leagues, the alliance, the broader mass democratic movement, as well as comrades deployed in various positions within the state. And the Lekgotla was there to develop focused program for the ANC for the next 12 months. We did not seek to develop new resolutions. I think the Lekgotla was about the resolution of the 54th National Conference. But we focus on the modalities for the implementation of the radical and transformative resolutions of the 54th National Conference and directives of the January 8th NEC statement. We are guided by our commitment to rebuild the movement and turn the South African economy around. So in the Lekgotla, we focus on almost 6 things. We focus on education, we focus on land, we focus on agriculture, we focus on the economy, reviving the economy, making sure that as we move forward, we focus on issues of health, and we are guided by our commitment. As we said, we are renewing the movement. And in terms of January 8th statement, you know, this is the year of unity, the year of renewal, and the year of jobs. And we had different commissions, and the Lekgotla received presentation on government performance, monitoring and evaluation, and overarching financial overview, and the progress on the progressive implementation of fee-free higher education, and the implementation of industrial policy action plan. And we also focus on infrastructure. Moving forward in this year, I think those are the 6 and 7 areas where we are going to focus. And that's where we want government also to focus. Commission's focus, as I said already, on higher education and training, on health, land, agrarian reform, industrialization and manufacturing, capacity of the state, peace and stability, as well as organizational renewal. And on higher education, the Lekgotla noted and commended government, higher education institutions and other stakeholders for the extensive work done to ensure readiness of institutions following the announcement of the implementation of fee-free education for students. I must emphasize this, from poor and working-class households in 2018, which was announced by President of the Republic, Comrade Jacob Zuma. And short-term and medium-term risks and mitigation plans were discussed and adopted by Lekgotla. And this included plans to ensure universities have sufficient capacity in line with their enrollment plans to cater for the numbers of students expected to enroll at each institution. And due consideration was also given to how universities and TVET colleges will cater for students who they will not be able to absorb in the current academic year, including the expansion of e-learning and distant education capabilities. Federal government has been directed to engage institutions of higher learning to ensure that there are plans in place to ensure fair allocation for student accommodation and provision of adequate accommodation and transport to meet the expected demand. The government is required to develop and put in place a clear program, progression rules and conditionalities relating to the provision of fee-free education. And we know that the capacity of NSFAS must also be enhanced to efficiently carry out its mandate under the new circumstances. And we have said all this in the Freedom Charter. On industrialization and manufacturing, Lekgotla identified economic recovery, job creation and transformation of South African economy as being the agent task of the movement and South Africa as a whole, if we are to achieve the objectives of the National Development Revolution. And the confidence-building actions, decisively dealing with youth unemployment, transformation of the ICT, the financial services sector, focusing on mining and beneficiation, SMMEs and cooperative development, because we think the way to go is to ensure that cooperatives and SMMEs, rural enterprises, township enterprises, revitalization of mining towns will actually be key for the ANC this year. And the government and the ANC, we will also be focusing on development of our monitoring and evaluation capacity, where the key focus areas of discussion around which the recovery of the plan must be is very, very important. And Lekgotla then agreed that this year, in the first quarter, we must convene a job summit to develop a common approach towards growing the economy and employment creation. So we need all South Africans, stakeholders, to participate and make sure that we move forward as South Africa to implement the decision to distribute spectrum in a manner that supports transformation and reduce barriers to entry, and urgently establish of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Commission to develop a joint country intervention plan to leverage opportunities offered and mitigate negative consequences of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And we'll also leverage the financial sector charter to fund aspects of transformation, including industrial, financial, and SMME development and support. Continue to engage the mining industry to seek common ground on the issue of the mining charter. As we have said, we have adopted the mining charter, but there is a need to further engage and consult with stakeholders. Government was directed to pay the more than 4.4 billion owed to SMMEs not later than March 2018. An urgent finalization of procurement bill to support SMMEs and cooperatives. And we have also talked about the expansion of Black Industrialist Program to include new industries in the unserviced sectors and the setting aside of funds to finance their initiative. And finally, incorporate compliance on SMMEs, cooperatives, and localization into the audit plans of the Auditor General's Office. On land and agrarian reform, I'm sure by now you know that we have taken that decision to expropriate land without compensation, and we have been repeating this and we are emphasizing it that the Lekgotla has called on government to urgently initiate a process to finalize the modalities for the implementation of the National Conference resolution to expropriate land without compensation as one of the key mechanisms available to government to effect land reform and redistribution. And the Lekgotla reaffirmed the utilization of this mechanism must ensure, amongst other things, food security, greater agricultural output, and complement our efforts to attract investment and economic growth. So we say whatever we do, we must act responsibly. The ANC is committed to evidence-based decision-making in executing this fundamental resolution, and will be embarking on a series of engagement with stakeholders and experts to guide implementation. And we further resolve to engage also traditional leaders and other stakeholders on the massification of asset ownership, including the provision of title deeds, which are critical for socio-economic activities, to people in urban and rural communities. The Lekgotla recommended placing a moratorium sale on state land to prevent critical land being sold off to allow government to redistribute vacant, unused, and underutilized state land. And we also then focus on organizational renewal. Our pilgrimage program is continuing. Lekgotla was very resolute on the urgent need to act decisively to rebuild the bond between the ANC and our people. And the ANC is committed to reclaiming the moral legitimacy of our movement and restoring the integrity of the ANC. And we are unanimous that we have now entered a new period of renewal, underpinned by unity of the ANC. And I think this is where the President and all of us as a collective, working together with the Alliance and the broader mass democratic movement, we have actually agreed that the unity of the movement is at the center point, and we must also galvanize our people around a common vision for transformation. In pursuit of this goal, the ANC directs its structures. There are tasks in terms of January 8 statement that we have given to the branches of the ANC throughout the country, and we are actually saying the branches of the ANC must focus on those tasks so that we capture the positive mood in South Africa. All structures are. There are also the decisions we have actually taken, and we have taken, by now you know that we have suspended, not dissolved. We have suspended the PEC of the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal because we agreed as the NEC that we don't want to solve and resolve our matters in courts. So the two PECs, leadership of two provinces, were engaged, and everybody agreed that the way to renew the ANC is to start by actually resolving our problems internally. And those other matters which are still out in the courts, I think whoever is out there will be called by the ANC officials to engage them. And that's why today we can announce that we have set interim structures, both in the Free State and in KZN. We will be in KZN tomorrow, and Wednesday will be in the Free State to inform them about the NEC decisions so that we move forward. In the Free State, we are rerunning the 14 branches as the court ruled, and we will rerun the conference. And we have put deadlines to such conferences because we want to focus in rebuilding the structures of the ANC. And everybody is happy because this is the political way of approaching things and renewing the ANC and building the unity of the movement. So in conclusion, I want to say Lekgotla was very emphatic that the ANC government must take urgent and decisive action, also in fighting corruption, creating jobs, and improving education access. And whilst noting that the National Health Insurance Bill will soon be tabled before Cabinet, its implementation, we have agreed, must be accelerated with the following receiving priority: school health, a comprehensive cancer campaign, the elderly and HIV and AIDS treatment acceleration plan of action, and assistive devices for people with disabilities. These are the areas in terms of health where we want to focus. And the ANC further directed government to take strong action to support the people of the Western Cape during the water crisis. As we advance towards 2018 general elections, the ANC is directed to, amongst other things, engage the IEC on the need to undertake a massive voter education campaign, as well as the residential campaign. And the ANC reflected on the passing of Comrade, as I conclude, of Comrade Rika Hodgson, a courageous and determined fighter and selfless servant of our people. Comrade Rika has left an indelible mark on South Africa's history, giving of her youth and her life to fight on the side of the oppressed masses. And the ANC would like to send our deepest condolences to the family of Comrade Rika Hodgson and assures them of our support during this difficult time of bereavement. And Lekgotla has also directed our structures to convey a fitting tribute to this selfless revolutionary. The 54th National Conference of the ANC has taken decisions that respond to the prevailing conditions of our people's life with the aim to impact positively, and the preoccupation of government must be how best to implement these decisions. So we are looking forward to our structures, we are looking forward to government implementing without fail the resolutions of the 54th National Conference and bring them into an action plan, and we therefore make sure that this year of Nelson Mandela, the year of unity, this year of Albertina Sisulu, the year of unity and renewal, we rebuild and focus every South African and branches of the ANC on the work. And I would like to say this is what the National Executive Committee decided. And maybe I know one of the things you may want to know is the discussion around President Jacob Zuma, so that you don't spin and twist. You hear it from the ANC National Executive Committee. Indeed, the officials were seized with this matter, and the officials will remain seized with this matter, because we have earlier said there will be continuous interaction between President Ramaphosa and President Zuma, and this matter was discussed in the National Executive Committee, and the matter was still left with the officials because it's a matter of interaction, and President Jacob Zuma and President Ramaphosa are actually talking about the coordination between Luthuli and government. And that's where the matter is. So the matter is with us. There isn't any rumor or any decision taken to remove Comrade Zuma, as some say in the social media. The deadline has been given, a deadline by tomorrow. There isn't such a thing. The resolution is that we assist as officials together with President Zuma and President Ramaphosa with this matter. I would like to thank you, and a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. In fact, the SG is being nice. He's saying the rumors are on social media. I think some of the mainstream media sitting here, despite assurances from the ANC that no such resolution has been taken, have continued to peddle what is unfortunately very, very untrue. So the SG has clarified that matter. I would take questions. Juanita, you're number 1. Do we have any other hands? Tulas is number 2. We'll take a round of 5 questions if we can get to 5. Well, now that the SG has clarified on President Zuma, there's no questions.
By the way, we have also appointed the NWC. I'm sure you are very interested in that.
If that's number 3, is that it? Okay, in that order, please.
Thank you very much, Connie Times of the Sunday Times. SG and DSG, I just want to find out some clarity on a few matters. The first one is on the free fee situation. Has the Lekgotla sort of thought about the funding model, and given the concerns raised by the National Treasury, how are we going to fund this program in this next financial year? The second thing, in terms of interim structures in the KZN and the Free State, when will we be able to get names as to who is in these interim structures? Thirdly, I wanted to ask about the officials seized with the matter of managing the transition between President Zuma and Ramaphosa. If you could just perhaps maybe give us a timeline, if there's any timeline in place, or some details of what it means that officials are seized with this matter. And finally, Nobala, I just want to sort of hear your sentiments on what we sort of see through court papers in the asset forfeiture unit case in the Bloemfontein High Court with regards to the Estina Dairy project in the Vrede Farm. As the sort of, political head in that province, could you perhaps reflect on your thoughts on the matter, considering your denials of it being linked to the Guptas before this? Thank you.
From ANC NEC, I will pick up from where Carnita left off, and I'll cut to the chase and say the Vrede Dairy project being under the curatorship now of the NPA's Assets Forfeiture Unit leaves a bitter taste in the mouth when you consider that it was a project meant to benefit poor people and get them into the mainstream, which is in line with your resolutions around radical economic transformation. So I want you to talk directly to that. What is the political climate, particularly the relationship between yourself, your family, your sons, and the Gupta family that provided the ripe environment for this kind of perversion of radical economic transformation and the empowerment of poor people? Will you take responsibility for creating an environment, being cozy and cozying up with the Guptas, benefiting from their largesse, trips abroad, all those things that I mentioned? Will you talk to those things, take South Africa into your confidence? Thank you.
Comrades, I'm tempted to point out to you that this is an ANC briefing. No? We're not necessarily dealing with matters of the Free State, and the Secretary General is not here in his capacity as the Premier of the Free State. So while we've noted the questions, and if the SG wants to reflect on them, he will, but can we not focus our press briefing on that, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahlatsi from News 24. Sorry, Kusela, I would like to differ with you. I mean, we have the ANC SG, and this is directly related to him, who was the Premier of the Free State, so our questions will go towards that. And I mean, just to add on Konita and also to Nasizwe, I mean, do you still stand in defense of the Guptas? Because when the questions were put to you, SG, then as the Premier of Free State, you defended them as honest business people. Do you still stand by those words? And do you admit that you actually, do you still claim to not be having a way of what was going on there, given that affidavit that is quite damning? And then on the issue of the officials being seized with President Jacob Zuma's matter, are you saying here that the NEC did not agree that President Jacob Zuma must step down before the 2019 general elections? Are you saying that there is no decision from the NEC that they should talk about President Jacob Zuma exiting the union buildings? Thank you.
No, I'm saying the NEC discussed this matter, and we all agreed that this matter is with the officials, and there will be interaction between officials, President Zuma and President Ramaphosa, and there are no timelines. we can't put timelines. Here we are dealing with the ANC leadership. And one of the decisions we have taken, obviously, is that the ANC NEC will continuously invite, in fact, Comrade Thabo Mbeki and Comrade Jacob Zuma are ex officio in the NEC because they are former presidents. This is the convention which has been there, and the NEC has taken that decision. So there is no timelines here. We don't do things that way. We engage, we process things, we discuss. So give us that time and space as the ANC to deal with our own matters. The Free State and the KZN, we are meeting structures tomorrow. We can't talk about the names when we have not actually involved our structures and informed them. We like to inform our structures, and those comrades will be making an interim committee to ensure that conferences happen between now and March and April. So tomorrow, after we have informed them, I think we'll be able to give you the names of those comrades who will be interim leadership, who must then make sure that we go to conferences. The funding model, I think we have agreed that in these 5 years we'll be facing gradually the issue of funding, and that's what government, National Treasury is part of government, and government is actually in touch with this matter of free education. So it will happen because it's a resolution of conference. The modalities, we are leaving the modalities to government, but we have emphasized poor students from also the working class, all those whose parents are earning less than 350,000 a year. And so, of course, we agree that anybody, there is a universal principle that no person is guilty until proven otherwise. And because we have also adopted a resolution that we must fight corruption, this is what is happening. We are saying wherever there is corruption, the law must take its place, whether it's with free dairy or any other thing. The law must actually take its place. So let's leave that matter. It's with the NPA, it's with the law enforcers. Whatever happens, we are actually reiterating the stance of the ANC that we need to fight corruption wherever it raises its head. So we will treat the free dairy in that way. Yeah, that's what I can actually say. My son has been working for the Guptas. It has never been a secret. It has never been a secret when I became premier and he was working for the Guptas. It was not a secret you knew as the media. And my son is not involved in the free dairy. So let the law take its own place in relation to the free dairy and any acts of corruption and unlawfulness and all that. I think those are the things I can actually say.
Thank you, Comrade SG. We'll take the last round of questions. Alex, you're number 1. Sir, you're number 2. Number 3, number 4, and number 5. We'll leave it at that, in that order, please. Alex, Reuters.
Hi, SG. Alex William from Reuters. The question is the ANC and President Jacob Zuma, are you working on a political deal for President Zuma to leave power? And is it right that President Zuma should be allowed a political deal which could potentially include immunity from prosecution or any form of promise that he won't be followed by the proper structures? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sakina from Soto TV. My question to you, SG. What was the decision of the NEC with regards to the killing of ANC councillors in KZN? Thank you so much.
Peter Grant, NPR. You keep talking about the Jacob Zuma matter. Can you explain?
Sorry, Peter, from?
NPR, National Public Radio. You talk about the Jacob Zuma matter. What is the matter? What is the issue that you're talking about specifically, and how does it get resolved? Thanks.
My name is Sintewa with the ANC. Just want to get the reaction from the ANC on the appointment of the new ESCOM board. So welcome it is the ANC.
Last question over there.
Hi, SG. Niran Khalsi from the Mail and Guardian. It's just a question of clarity about the interim provincial structures. How are they going to be set up? What is the process that leads to people being appointed to this interim structure for KZN?
We need a microphone here. I want to ask you. We're lobbying for budget for a microphone.
Okay. We have not arrived at any decision. We are just saying there is this engagement and discussions which will actually take place between us and President Jacob Zuma. We have not arrived at a decision that Zuma must go or Zuma must not go. It is you, the media, who says Zuma must go, or people playing the space, social media. We are discussing, we are an organization and we discuss our own matters. And I don't think we are dictated by anybody how to deal with internal matters of the ANC. Give us the space and we'll deal with our organizational issues. And the issue of the matter, what you call the matter is, there is this thing, Zuma is going tomorrow. I'm talking about that matter. I'm saying this issue is an issue which is being discussed and which was discussed by the NEC. Because the ANC is a democratic organization and we allow debates and we arrive at decisions and we move as a collective within the year of unity. So that's where the matter is. We have noted the killings in KZN, and I think that's why there was a commission set up. We are worried about that situation. And I think as the party and as the ANC, we are agreeing that we need to resolve such matters. And that's why we are not taking the court's route when dealing with the challenges facing the ANC in KZN. We are dealing with matters internally and organizationally. We have talked and engaged people with divergent and different views in terms of KZN, whether you call them factions or groupings. And I think the KZN comrades themselves are actually having engagements, debates to rebuild the organization from whatever grouping. And it's a very positive step. And it has been happening behind closed doors, and we have congratulated comrades for doing so. So Free State and KZN, we have members of the ANC, we identify members of the ANC, we decide who can be the convener and the coordinator, the chair and the secretary in that interim committee. It's not for the first time we are doing that. We have done it almost throughout provinces. When Gauteng was disbanded, there was an interim structure. When the Free State was disbanded, when Northwest was disbanded, when Eastern Cape, and many other provinces. So we have arrived at the same decisions. We identify cadres of the movement who can actually propel and drive this process of unity and rebuilding the structures of the ANC. And that's what we have actually done. And that's why we'll give you the names tomorrow. once we have informed comrades, so that we don't inform the structures of the ANC through the media. And lastly, the ANC has welcomed the issue of the ESCOM board. As officials, we are aware of the discussions between the presidents, and we appreciated the fact that they were dealing with challenges facing the country, and as we move forward, we want to move forward in a unified way. And the ANC welcome. I can speak confidently without any contradiction that yes, we did welcome the ESCOM board.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending this press briefing. We will continue to engage with you through the forums that we normally use. If you have any interview requests, kindly send them to us or use our email, communications@anc.org.